stuff in the foundation, and my children are with me. So you may hear some video games in the background and some other things, but they understand that Dad shares his thoughts. So hopefully it's not too much interference, but I want to share something with you. I want to share something with you as far as the ministry is concerned. God does things in His order, in His time. I know you heard that before. But to hear it and to have faith and believe it, y'all turn the video games down just a little bit. To hear it and to believe it, they're two different things. Son, turn the game down. Turn the game down. To hear it and to believe it are two different things, but faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word of God. So, at one point I prayed to God, Yahweh, the God of the Bible, because people can talk about God these days. You don't always know what God they're talking about. Choose this day which or whom you shall serve. As for me and mine, we shall serve the Lord. But reading Psalms 37 and verse 23, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and He delighteth in His way. Now, in addition to that, when you ask God to order your steps, you have to understand His ways are not your ways. His thought process is interdimensional. It crosses the barriers and thresholds of time, gravity, natural law, and He created spiritual law. But something small happens because He also sends you little signs to remind you, I'm still in control. And one thing I've learned to do is to find God in the small things. I've learned to see Him. I've learned to communicate with Him. You read His words, you understand what He will do and what He won't do, and what He will say and what He won't say. So I was at the gas pump, and at the gas pump, I put my debit card in, and when it asked me for my PIN number, I started to punch it in correctly, and I hit clear, and I got frustrated because it wasn't clearing fast enough, and it canceled the whole sale. And I'm like, okay, I got somewhere to go. Now I have to start this transaction again. You know how finicky debit card machines can be, especially since they created these chips. And if you're an end times watcher, you understand what the chips are and what they're leading to. Anyhow, it started to sail over, but then I remembered, well, you know what? While I'm here rushing, being frustrated, not being content, not remembering at that moment that I've asked God to wash my sins away, make me righteous under His righteousness, because my righteousness is the equivalent of filthy rags according to the Bible. Well, I forgot to punch in my rewards number. So, by that little transaction being disrupted and forcing me to start over and go in the proper sequence, I got to save a few dollars. So should I be complaining or should I be thankful? And the reality is that was a reminder from my Yahweh, the God I serve, to settle down and remember, I'm still in control, son. I got this. You be Renaissance Man Ministry. I'll be Yahweh. And you know what? It's better that way. If it were up to us, with our mortal, limited minds, and we made up our own way of things being righteous and good, well, somebody else would have to suffer. God has a way of making sure we all learn what we need to learn, and we all get the opportunities we need to get, not only for salvation, but for abundant living, for righteous living, and for rewards, which you'll see later on when this life is over. Because there is a reward system in the Bible. When the Bible talks about you receiving crowns in the afterlife, you can look them all up. You can actually Google search crowns in the Bible. Matter of fact, if I remember, I'll make my next video about that. And I know sometimes I may say I'm going to make a video and I might neglect it. Y'all turn the games down. Golly. Y'all got it sounding like an arcade in here. Like a surround sound theater. I love my children, but they love them games. They like to go outside too. I do have some good old-fashioned outside kids, but I let them play the game sometimes because it gets hot out there. It just depends. I have good children. If I don't have anything else in life, I've been blessed with good, well-spoken, good-looking, obedient children, and I love them dearly. And that's another thing. Sometimes I fuss at them a little bit because I want the best for them, but my son has a counselor that he visits with, and he told me one day, he's like, look, Dad, I know you want the best for your son, but you can't stop him from going through anything, because he can't learn if he doesn't go through anything. Now, you can tell him about the experiences you've had with the things you've gone through, but you'll never prevent him going through anything, because that's God's order. That's the natural order. He has to experience trials and tribulations, just like I did, in order for him to develop into a man. And his trials and his tribulations and his experiences are going to be different from mine. Now, if you're a parent like me and you love your child, that's tough to watch. As they get older, they get more mature, they get too cool for you. They have their experiences in life. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. But if you've trained up your child in the way they should go, they won't depart. And they'll figure it out. They'll get it. You just be there to console them when they bump their heads. Sometimes you may have to say, well, I told you not to do that, but that's why. Now you know. Sometimes you may even say, well, you handled that better than your parent did. I would have done it this way, and I guess you got that part right. It can happen. You got to let God be God and let man be man. It's a wonderful Sabbath day, to be honest. If you observe the Sabbath and if you keep the law and statutes and commandments at that level, I'm not one who is a commandment or die person, because I've been in some forums and in some situations where people are talking about keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. And just like Yeshua the Christ with the Pharisees, I still have yet to ask one person to answer, okay, I hear you talking about these laws, statutes, and commandments, but what is the penalty for breaking the laws, statutes, and commandments? And crickets. Well, you know the penalty is death. So since you're not going by grace and you're going by these commandments, what you gonna do? Because you don't have an acceptable sacrifice. You don't even have a system to live in where you can make the animal sacrifices. You don't have a holy temple. You don't have the Levites here. At least they're here, but they don't know their identity, most of them. So what are you saying? But anyway, that's a different debate for a different day. But just understand, even though you've heard the cliche, look for God's signals that he's in control. Look for his reminders. Be in tune with him. Pray. Pray without ceasing. Read your word to understand his way of doing things, because his ways don't change. People might think they do if they're unlearned or not in tune with the spirit, but no. He's the same God yesterday, same God today, and he'll be the same God tomorrow. He's already told you what he is and what he ain't gonna do. Now, you just play your part in this play that we call life, because the final chapter, the closing act, is coming up soon.